Now it's time to see what our cooperation has gotten us, what all the cosigns look like. What picture do we have of ourselves?
If black men would date black
the
women,
karma
or
on all
if they're
this
going
is
to
really
date outside
gruesome
the
to
race,
watch
that they still give black
and
women a
understand.
chance. But far too often, black men are like, I don't
When
want
you
anything
see
to do
the
with
way
sisters. I'm
issues
done
wrap
with them.
around one another, and you see the juggernaut,
I'm a strong,
and you see the way it's held in
independent
place.
black woman, you gonna buy me a drink. That just don't work out in the club. You're riding the fence. Yeah. If you're a strong, independent black woman.
The problem is everybody has valid points, but they stretch them so far that it looks like the only points.
Women don't know their role in life. They're actually confused. They're frustrated.
Generally, I don't date men that have less education than I do.
A lot of this has to do sometimes with the women that we are involved with, especially now with the workforce, with the majority of the women making much more money than the man. That then causes a problem with the woman, because now what happens is the woman wants to be the boss at the home and at the workplace. And us as men have problems with that because we want to also be able to lead in our household and take care of our families.
And oftentimes women find it, whenever they're going out to look for a mate, it's difficult to find someone who is, I guess, earning enough money to be their partner. And that can cause frustration, I think, in relationships. And I think that's also one of the issues that we see today with the relationships of African American men and African American women.
Should we be to blame because black men can't, catch up with us or aren't on the same playing field? I think sometimes it comes off as being angry or we don't get along, but I think, should we settle for less, or should we apologize for our success?
Some of the difficulties that some of my friends are having are economics, and those difficulties are coming from with the woman making more money than the man, and with the man feeling inferior in his own household. And with that, there is definitely a problem, because the man now feels as if he's now almost like a second child in the house, and women tend to almost treat their mate like one of the children. And that definitely causes a problem. And I find that, especially even with a lot of my friends, they choose to not even want to deal in those situations, and then they look to do other things and go other places and deal with women of other nationalities other than black women.
I have to take a back seat, and I have to, make sure that you're taken care of all day. I have to come in and be like, oh, honey, here's dinner on the table that I made just for you. I don't think that necessarily exists, but I think it might not necessarily be because I don't think that is necessarily because black women don't want to do it, but sometimes they don't have time.
In today's society, I think what happens is the woman is working. When she comes home, she don't want to be bothered. She's had a hard day. She doesn't want to really hear about your day. She wants to tell you about her day. And I think that with both parties working and with women making the majority of the money, they feel as though they don't have to give of themselves like that, because I'm making the money. I'm the breadwinner.
Money plays a major role in relationships in America, a major role. And that's a part of, and that perhaps is a part of the problem. Perhaps a lot of our priorities are in the wrong place, and family should be the center.
They want to feel that security. It's no different than, your relationship with your father. You still want that security. You want that comfort from a man. That's the number one. So like I said, if you want a woman to, cook for you, to clean for you, to do whatever else for you, it goes both ways. You want to be taken care of in that way. A woman wants to be taken care of financially. What they say, women marry for money all the time. That is damn true, because women want to feel secure. They want that, security blanket. I don't have to worry about my bills being paid. I know that he is there for me. Whatever happens, we're going to be okay.
I've never really spoken on this topic, and I may ruffle a few feathers, but this is what I see. What prompted me to make this video is the fact that earlier today I heard a 14-year-old child say with attitude that she was a strong, independent black woman. We have been duped. We have been bamboozled by society, by scare tactics, by conditioning of the media, and by ourselves. Most young African American women of today have been raised to be strong black women, independent, self-sufficient, and tough. Some of us even describe ourselves as strong, independent black women, and it is something that most of us have been taught that we must aspire to. And if we don't see ourselves in this way, we are considered to be doormats or weak. When the vast majority of young black women of today describe themselves as strong and independent, it has nothing to do with the fact that Harriet Tubman led the slaves through the Underground Railroad. It's not due to inspiration from African women who were warriors in ancient times. It has nothing to do with being the mothers of civilization or the backbone of the community. In speaking with several young women recently who consider themselves strong and independent black women, I asked them to describe what that means to them. And what they said it means is that I make my own money. I can pay my own bills. I can raise my kids by myself. I can defend myself, and I don't need no man. That is the consensus of what they answered. They mean that they are able to take care of themselves and their children, as well they should be able to as adults. But they also seem to mean that they are like men or can replace men. And sometimes we do have to assume the role of a man because they're simply not there. But we can't be men. They seem to believe that as black women, they are supposed to put up with abuse, overwork, exploitation, underappreciation, cruelty, and just plain bull crap, and endure it, and then wear that burden as some sort of badge of honor. As a result, they make reckless choices. They feel like they must always be in fighting back mode, wearing defensive armor, and putting up this peacock defense all the time. Hence, the attitudes. Unfortunately, this thought process leads to detrimental behavior and lifestyles, as well as bitterness and loneliness. The mistake that many people make based on this image of the strong, independent black woman is that they believe that black women don't suffer emotionally as much as the other non-black population of women because we are thought of as being strong and thus better able to endure emotional pain, disappointment, hatred, rejection, and put-downs. And that assumption is wrong. And the seemingly constant stank attitude that a lot of black women have is a result of this perceived endurance. See, a lot of us have been taught that we have to be aggressive and assertive to make it in this world. We have to display brute force, hence the strong part of the title. We have to have this perpetual chip on our shoulders and dare anybody to knock it off. We can't let nobody step all over us. Being loud, bossy, and belligerent indicates our level of empowerment. The louder and more belligerent we are, the more we will be appreciated and recognized for our strength. In trying to live up to this image, the stereotype of that image becomes a reality. There is much criticism attached to this strong, independent black woman title, although a lot of women think that the title brings respect and admiration. And at one time, it actually did. But the definition of that title has morphed from something positive into something negative. A lot of black women have been bamboozled into believing that they have to live up to or claim this title in order to be accepted and taken seriously, mostly by other black women. That by saying I'm a strong, independent black woman, it automatically puts you in some elite status when it actually does the exact opposite. Like I said, the thing that made me make this video is hearing that child say that she was a strong, independent black woman. How in the hell is a child a strong, independent black woman? It's like any and everybody is running around claiming to be strong and independent no matter what their status is. And it makes the whole thing pretty silly when you have women who are not taking care of a damn thing on welfare, crackheads, just anybody, even kids running around screaming that they are strong, independent black women. It's a joke and a mockery. Another thing is that a lot of black women have had it pounded into their heads that black men ain't nothing no matter what. And so therefore, they themselves must replace the black man in all areas or become the man. They must handle it all on their own or at least maintain some grip of control on all aspects of whatever is going on because he can't be trusted to do it. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing anyway, so they have to supervise and be the one in control. The strong, independent type of woman will usually in her younger years choose to be with a Ray from up the street type of guy who is not on her perceived financial or intellectual level. She will possibly get pregnant by this guy. And then when she gets older, she will go and try to get a guy who is on her perceived level. At this point, she might have children or whatever. And then go and complain about not being able to find a man on her level. At this point, those guys are not checking for her. And so once they start to realize that the choices in men that they once had are no longer available, that's when you have your ABC News specials and all your complaints and talk shows and everything. And then eventually the defense mechanism will lead to the standard statement, which is, I don't need no black man. But in actuality, what we don't need is to waste our younger years chasing after the same quote unquote no good guys that we complain about all the time, that we've been hearing complaints about, most of us, all of our lives. And the guys that we know who are going to obviously treat us like dirt, obviously aren't doing anything with their life based strictly on our emotions or on their so-called swag or whatever, and then we turn around and blame every black man that exists for that fool's behavior. We can't keep having baby after baby out of wedlock with men who we know, based on their track record, are not going to take care of that child or be there for that child in any way, and then turn around and judge all black men based on those fools. The bottom line is, if you don't need no black man, then there shouldn't be all these black babies that were born out of wedlock running around. Period. I hate the stigma that is attached to black women right now, and it's mainly black women who perpetuate the image of us that creates that stigma with this strong, independent black woman mess. One reason is that it diminishes our accomplishments. It taints our reputation as a whole. We are known for being belligerent, combative, bossy, controlling, and attitudinal, whether we are like that or not, and it is attached to that title. It has become an expectation for all black women to be this strong, independent black woman, to be manly, and a lot of black women are treated that way or are lumped into that category in certain situations, whether they are like that or not. That title has become a new negative stereotype for black women and a modern day slur, similar in context to hood rat or the N-word. Yeah, that's right. And if you haven't heard or seen a strong, independent black woman joke yet, and strong, S-C-R-O-N-G, trust me, you will. Okay? I'm not saying that any human being should grovel behind or buckle under another human being, and I am not advising anybody on how to conduct their personal relationships. But to say that you are independent and you don't need nobody at all, that's a fallacy. No one is completely autonomous. So the whole independent description is false. Yes, a black woman's burden is often heavier than that of anyone else, which is exactly why we have no need to try to be so independent. And to be real, the word independent as used in that title means I don't need no man, because sisters stick together like glue, and we do need and rely on each other. Some women have taken on a harsh and overbearing demeanor or the characteristics of a man in order to prove that she doesn't need one. And I'm not even sure if that exterior reflects what's really inside of those women, because even when talking to the harshest and most bitter of black women, most of them signify that they would like to be in a relationship with a man. But not many men are going to deal with that type of personality. This strong, independent black woman title actually gives people the impression that they can walk all over us, burden us, treat us like dirt, put us down, and still we rise, because we are constantly making it seem like we can take anything. I'm not saying that any woman should be weak or a doormat, but we don't have to live up to this ridiculous neck-rolling, finger-snapping, belligerent, manly image. We can be resilient and strong, solid. We can have careers and excel in those careers, have an education, and take care of business, and still be feminine, loving, nurturing, provide comfort, peace of mind, and have confidence in ourselves and in our mate without trying to be like a man. What is the purpose or the reward of belligerence and jumping bad in a man's face? Why desire to be a man or be like a man? Why desire to be autonomous? People need people. Why is independence in that manner a goal? I don't desire any of that. I don't want to do it all on my own. Does that make me a doormat? No, it does not. I don't understand the desire to have a chaotic, drama-filled life of conflict and anger. Some black women actually prefer not to have the title of strong, independent black woman and all the perceived attributes that go along with it put on us based on the image that women who scream that mantra project. Okay? Why not just let your life speak for itself? A true strong black woman understands that she needs other people and she chooses her mate wisely. She does not have to endure a bunch of BS and put herself in dangerous and detrimental situations to prove that she is strong. But if she finds herself in those situations, she knows to get out and she is resilient. She doesn't have to be loud, pushy, or in control of everything, nor does she need to try to prevent a man from being a man in order to prove her strength. She displays an aura of experience, wisdom, grace, femininity, resilience, and quiet power. And by quiet power, I don't mean bowing down and keeping your mouth shut. I mean you command respect, therefore you never have to demand it. If you are capable of taking care of your business and taking care of your children or whatever, you don't have to announce it or act it out. It just is what it is.
Good evening, everyone.
What a light.
I'm honored to see so many people.
Can you imagine having this formula, having a big truth in your heart and a world of men, and then having to share it?
And tomorrow we're going to be presented, or I don't know how many
Can you
people saw
imagine,
the
after
cover
all
of the
these
Newsweek
years
magazine
of delivering
that
this
said
message
something like,
with
"Forget
not
the
much
church,
progress,
follow Jesus,"
she
and it
still
had a white
stands there,
man.
smiles, and delivers it again and again and again until it's
So this
usable.
is my liberating prayer, Black people's
So
prayer.
use it. Use this
Thou
woman.
who
Use her
art
hard work.
blacker than a
Work
clear
together.
midnight, whose eyes
I
shine
realize
brighter
she
than
not only
midnight
has to
sun.
fight racism, white
Thou
supremacy,
whose hair doth
but she
coil
has to fight
tighter
us
than a
as
million
well as the men
springs,
because of her gender.
radiating all energy
All
throughout
this
the
is
universe.
getting in our
We
way of
beseech
really
thee,
achieving our
one and
goals,
only one,
and they know it.
to give us total
This is part of the
strength
game.
to carry out thy will for the universe, to establish justice on planet Earth and live in peace. We are going to talk this evening with a focus on Black male-female relationships. And I was deeply, deeply honored when I was signing the books. A couple came and said that I had saved their marriage. When they heard me say that Black men and Black women, if they focus on the problem of racism, white supremacy, it will save the marriage. Because that is a force that they have in common, whether we think about it that way or not. Now, I have been talking
Only
about
thing there is, the
racism, white
solution is a little
supremacy
sticky to
for
me.
42 years.
Because if you look at white people
Now,
who
I
group
never
together thinking
thought
like that with their
that
families,
I would be
that's why we
focusing
have a whole
on a
bunch of Nazi
topic for
babies.
that long. And when
Focusing
I
on
first started talking, I
white
thought, well, our
supremacy, I don't
problems
think is the
as
answer
Black
for
people
Black
are going to be
couples.
solved
In
in
the
a
same
short
way that
period
I
of
don't
time.
think
But
focusing
that's
on
not the way
destroying
things
Black
work,
people is
apparently.
the answer for white
And you
couples.
learn as you live.
I only have one
Now, we are
disagreement,
in the midst of some very
that
interesting
focusing on
times
racism, white
when
supremacy
we
is a
are
solution for
experiencing
Black
the
couples.
Trayvon Martin
Because I've already
event.
tried it. And what I realized
We are a
is
few
the
days
same man
away
that was
from
concerned
the
about racism,
44th
white
anniversary
supremacy
of Dr. Martin
was
Luther
also
King's
concerned about keeping male
assassination.
dominance within the home.
And
This
these
was a conflict of
events
interest
tell
for
us
me
that the problem
because
of
freedom means
racism,
freedom,
white supremacy
whether you're a man
is
or
still
woman
with us.
or white or Black.
Now, many
And I just
times we
can't see
try to
myself
forget about it and
playing
believe
around with
that,
that.
well, it's gone and we're
I also
post-racial.
refuse to attach myself
We
to the
have a
feminist
Black
movement
president and we're post-racial.
because I know what they do.
But we are not post-racial. And anyone
And I
who
also see what
feels
they are not
moved
doing.
by what
I
has
don't see
happened
us
to the
getting
Martin
much help
family and what
in our
happened to
communities as
Trayvon
women trying to
needs
rear
to
our children
dedicate him or
and grow our income.
herself to an
I
in-depth
believe that the
understanding
frustration
of
of dealing
racism,
with
white
racism, white
supremacy, and that goes
supremacy,
for
and all the little
all of the
tricks,
young men
smoke and
who
mirrors
have been killed.
can get a
And
person
it's our
frustrated
duty and our
to where you feel like you
responsibility
need to
to
resort to the
understand
same.
why this is happening. You see, it is happening for a reason. And in medicine, we look for causes. In science, we look for, it's not just the event, but what is causing the events to take place. Because when you understand why something is happening and what is causing events to take place, then you are in a position beyond just complaining. Now, I bought me a hoodie. I bought me a little hoodie that was on sale. But that's just like a surface sign. We have to go beyond the hoodies and understand why this particular thing is happening and why all of the things that black people are experiencing are happening to us. And to do that, we have to get into an understanding of this dynamic of racism, white supremacy. I hope I got a chalk thing that works. See, we all have to understand that we're dealing with a system. Can you see this? No. Oh, I'm with this. Yeah. We're dealing with a total system structure. And so the question is, what is that system all about? Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, the famous black sociologist and historian, in 1903 said, the problem of the 20th century is the question of the color line. Now that was one way of talking about racism, white supremacy. But if we respect ourselves as black people, we have to respect what are our people saying about the problem. So that was 1903, 109 years ago. Then mid-century, the important thinker and writer Neely Fuller Jr., I hope everybody is familiar with his work. And Neely Fuller came along and said, the system is racism, white supremacy. Du Bois called it the color line. Neely Fuller said it's racism, white supremacy. And he said it functions in all areas of people activity. And I want everybody to understand this when they leave. He said the system functions where? In economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. See, religion, that's why you got a white image of God.
That's why you got the image.
You see, so that if we're people of color, we're worshiping the people that oppress us. But he said it's a whole system, and Neely Fuller helped me understand it's a system. And so as a psychiatrist, I said, well, why? Why would people set up a system like this on planet Earth? Why? See, like little children, 2 years old, they know how to start saying, why? Why? See, if people tell them to shut up, don't tell them to shut up. You might have to say, I don't know why. I don't know the answer, but the child is looking for cause and effect. They're looking to understand this world that they have been born into. So I said, why would a system of racism, white supremacy, be set up on planet Earth? Here's our planet. And I just thought about, by the time you go to medical school and train in psychiatry, you've been in school a long time. In the course of being in school a long time, one of the things that I learned was that people who have white skin are a tiny minority.
That's right.
Now, they call themselves majority and train us to call ourselves minorities. But that was a big deception.
Yes.
The people of color, the non-white people, are 9/10 majority on the planet.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, another deception was they told us that we were genetically inferior.
Right.
But being trained in their medical schools and knowing about genetics, we are genetically dominant.
That's right.
don't marry anybody darker than yourself, because that dark is powerful. That's melanin pigment. And if you need to think about an example, just focus on President Barack Obama. His mother was white. His father was a black man. There's no way in the world that that would have produced, those two people coming together, could no way produce white, which is a genetic recessive trait. Black is a genetically dominant trait. And the darker you are, the more genetic power you have to produce this pigment. So the next thing we were taught, if you're black with a whole lot, get back. A little bit less if you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. And if you're white, no pigment, you're all right. Now see, black people and people of color all over the world, I can go to London, England and say this and everybody knows. If you're black, get back, brown, stick around, yellow, mellow, white, right, because under white domination and under white supremacy, they taught us this by their behavior towards us.
Yes.
And programmed us to behave in that way in relationship to each other. And to begin to worship the fact that the grandmothers were raped. Are you all with me? Now, this is not for anybody to feel bad, but all of this instruction is based on maintaining this system of racism, white supremacy.
So I'm now going to add a little something to Dr. Francis Scott Wesley's research. The real reason to why they control the feminist movement, economics, spirituality.
According to Nahum chapter 3 and verse 9, he says that the people from Ethiopia and Egypt had a power that was boundless, limitless, without limit.
Who don't want you to
and that was written in 714 BC, right around the same time that Isaiah 18 was written. So what we're dealing with here is that we're dealing with a group of people, black people from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that were basically presidents of the planet, if you will. People who were in world...
This was more than just a war of colors.
3/5 of human beings
viewed
as animals, viewed as tools to build the dreams of the Europeans. People with clear Afroid features, nose, the profile, and it was just incontrovertible. The facts, the reality that black people had designed this civilization.
On gentleness, on creativity, on free thinking.
On the other hand, we have the tremendous civilization that black people had created.
There was a definite crisis of the conscience, because there were white brothers really intensely fighting this thing called slavery, and they were pushing for the liberation of the black man, condemning the trade itself, and freeing slaves in America, and they were torn. And so you can see where the impetus and the need to formulate rationalizations for this developed.
What to do? What are the anthropologists and archaeologists going to do in dealing with this information? And that is what I believe, what sponsored, maybe consciously in some cases, unconsciously in other cases, what we could call the cover-up. The cover-up of the accomplishments of black people. Chancellor Williams wrote a book called The Destruction of Black Civilization. And in this book he outlines 7 points as to why he feels that there was a cover-up.
Ignore. Just refuse to publish any facts of African history that don't go along with our racial theories.
We need to create a religious and a scientific doctrine so that African slavery won't appear that bad after all.
What we need to do is flood the world with new African histories that contain our European perspectives only.
Start renaming people and places. Replace African names with Arabic and European names. This will disguise their true black identity.
Let's change the criteria for defining race. For example, 1 drop of Negro blood in America makes you a Negro, no matter how light the skin.
Yes, and when reporting ancient African history, reverse the standard. No matter how dark the skin, woolly the hair, or thick the lips, you don't have to be a Negro.
When black contribution to civilization is too obvious, let's find a way to attribute it to outside white influences.
When all the ancient historians contradict your theory, we'll just discredit them.
Chancellor Williams was a scholar, and we feel that his observations have a lot of merit to them. But there are his personal observations. Talk about the rewriting of history. We have to set that in the context that we're talking about during the 1800s is when this started. We're not really talking about contemporary scholars primarily when dealing with this subject. You could not go from Egypt being a Negro civilization to being a white civilization without rewriting it.
as I said, the important thing here is we have to start challenging the history that was fed to us, because it's not entirely true. To say that the history of Jamaica that I was taught at Casey, or the history that I learned at university in New York, is inconsistent is an understatement. Entire chunks, thousands of years of history have been omitted from what we were taught. Cristobal Colon was a mercenary. This is the man that you know as Christopher Columbus. Anybody ever wondered why suddenly in 1492 all these Europeans decided that they were going to jump on boats and start exploring everywhere? Well, there's a reason. There's always smoke, fire behind the smoke. In 1491, 1 year before his first voyage, there was a war between the Moors and the white Europeans. Actually, that war had been going on for a very long time. The Moors had ruled Western Europe for 700 years. But in 1491, when Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand defeated them at Granada in Spain, Pope Innocente, I love how the popes always have nice names. Pope Innocent. Pope Innocent VIII legalized the enslavement of black people all over the world, and the theft of their lands and their wealth by white Europeans. This happened in 1491, and then in 1492, the voyages all started, right? You had Portugal, Spain, the Dutch, France, and Britain. Everybody just started exploring the so-called New World. How can it be the New World, by the way, if it's older than your world? I mean, I just showed you a 26,000-year-old pyramid in the New World. Anyway, Columbus's first voyage was a military reconnaissance mission. Everybody understand what that is? When you want to wage a war with an enemy that you're not familiar with, you send somebody to scope them out. See how fortified their nations are, see what kind of weaponry they have. And we know this for a fact because he only took 3 ships. Everybody knows the name of those 3 ships, right? Nina, Pinta, Santa Maria. And he only took about 80 crewmen. But when he came back in 1496, 17 warships and 1,300 soldiers. And those ships were carrying cannons, those ships were carrying armory, but he was just an explorer. Columbus and his crew sailed from island to island, wiping out the natives who fought back and enslaving the survivors. This mass murder was justified as converting savages to Christianity in order to bring them under the dominion of Rome. It's called forced denationalization. Denationalization is when somebody takes away your indigenous rights. And dispossession is when someone takes away your birthright property. That was what this whole voyage was about. Because that was the only way they could claim the land. They had to wipe out and disinherit the rightful owners. That is why they made up the story of Arawak. They don't want to admit that they came here, saw black people, and tried to eradicate all of them and then enslave the rest of them. And that their ownership of our island was illegal from day one. This was all done, as I said, with the blessing of the Pope and the Roman Empire, which owned the Kingdom of Spain, Kingdom of Britain, the Kingdom of France. And everything the Romans did, they carried around a red cross. We know the red cross, we're familiar with it, right? The first time we saw those red crosses was on these guys. These are the Knights Templar. Yeah. The Templar were the armies that were sent into Africa to conquer and destroy. We also know the Red Cross from these 3 ships come sailing in from Cristobal Colon. This is the Santa Maria, the Nina, and the Pinta. See? Same Red Cross. Pay attention to that Red Cross. All crosses lead to Rome. There's a reason that our ancestors made up that word crosses. You know? What does crosses mean in our language? You see? They knew that anytime some bad shit happened, crosses was behind it. Alright? But here's another place that you'll find that red cross that you probably never thought about. Look at this. What's that? What's this? This is a red cross. Right here. That's the cross of the Templars. This is a seal of ownership. And you know how we know it's the cross of the Templars? Because what's this? That's knight's armor on our coat of arms. Alright? And then of course we have the fake that's the medium brown, docile, long-haired people. And out of many one people. Do you guys know that the last census, which was done in 2011, confirmed that this island's population is 98% Nubians? Out of which many? Which many people? There's only one people on this island. But here you are, the Red Cross. Crosses, that's who owns the island. And of course, all crosses lead to Rome and this pedophile. This is the last Pope, Pope Benedict. I call him Pope Maledict because this is, I'm going to keep the language clean because we're recording. And again, by the way, let me just say, I mean, I know that the Christians in the room know that your religion and this man are not the same thing, okay? All right. All crosses lead to Rome. All right, point number 3. Was it a slave trade or was it a transatlantic war? The story of a massive 300-year slave trading operation that brought 12 million Africans to the Americas, that's North, Central, and South, is a cover story for the European crusade against our black ancestral civilizations. As I just said, the Pope authorized it in 1491 and suddenly they were out there discovering places full of people. Places that weren't lost were being found. The slave trade was part of a centuries-long race war. Now this is powerful stuff. This is powerful stuff. And we're gonna, let me not get ahead of myself. In this war, Arabs, pale Arabs, who had been in conflict with the black Islamic empires of Africa since 1189, allied themselves with the white Europeans and black Christian converts in 1491 to wage a war that would destroy every black civilization on the planet. Again, a lot of stuff I'm going to touch on. I'm not going to go too deep in it because it's just outside of the scope of this. This transatlantic war combined military invasion and genocide with biological, psychological, social, legal, and financial tactics to achieve total domination over indigenous Nubian peoples.
Here we have the carnage.
This morning, that officer is under investigation for using excessive force after the video, which was taken in March, was posted to YouTube this week.
She landed on her face!
Women
right
are left
here, it was
with
a bigger
voiceless,
bump the
powerless
first day,
men.
But, I mean, it got down, but it's still bruised.
And a society
with a bruise still visible over her
where the
eye,
snake is
Valdez
eating
admits
itself.
she was arguing with another female student, but says that's it. This video of a San Antonio school officer slamming a middle school student to the ground, causing outrage. Watch again. The video shows Rhodes Middle School Resource Officer Joshua Kem, students all around with his arms around 12-year-old Janissa Valdez. You see him pick her up and then throw her face down.
Jess, are you okay?
I was upset, I was angry, because I still couldn't believe that he had done that to her. And then she told me, Mom, I wasn't fighting. Why did he do that?
School officials are now investigating, saying they learned about the incident after it was posted online.
We are totally helpless when things happen to our children
force in this district.
because we're treated as children in society,
all the details
and
as
we
to
are
what
also
occurred.
totally
It
helpless.
is very concerning.
She's my daughter, and I just want justice.
when it comes to using the laws and the rules of
This
the land.
officer has been with the school police force for a little over a year. He was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation, and still a lot of questions about what was going on before that video was shot.
A key in psychological warfare. When something happens to the woman, why do we always say, what was she doing? Go ahead and say it. Now, what was she doing to deserve that? Could she have possibly done anything to deserve that? Would you like us to empathize? I bet you would. We want the same. Right now, in our own peace. We want to be equal to men. So can you take a hit like that? Something to think about.
There's multiple marshals involved and allegations ranging from sexual assaults to choking a citizen in court. This investigation begins with a 2011 video we've uncovered showing family court marshals arresting a woman because she claimed one of them sexually assaulted her. A warning, some of the details of the story may be disturbing to some.
So I'm just going to close the case out and dissolve the order.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Monica Contreras came to family court with her 2-year-old daughter. She was in court for only a few minutes on a routine divorce case. According to internal court documents reviewed by the I-Team, family court marshal Ron Fox ordered Contreras into a waiting room by herself for an unexplainable drug search. Contreras says Marshal Fox touched her buttocks, breast, and ordered her to lift up her shirt. A later internal investigation validated her claims. Contreras went right back into the same courtroom to tell hearing master Patricia Doninger her requests to have a female marshal search her were ignored.
I think I'd rather have a female in here. And he went in here and
This policeman's going to take her home.
I was just offended by this. I'm just offended that he asked me to do that.
Okay, so the story stands. Handcuff her.
Contreras pleads as Marshal James Kenyon begins to arrest her.
Or what, sir?
Hold on.
Okay, why would I be arrested? Can you please tell me?
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Can you please tell me?
Turn around, put your hands
Because of
behind your
false
back.
allegations made against a police officer, so.
What?
We looked and could find no law supporting that arrest, let alone any law allowing an alleged sexual assault victim to be arrested by the alleged assaulter.
Jimmy, I got court. I still have to do this, so arrest her. I take the kid. We're done.
Why would you do that to me, sir?
Because you're making false
I'm not making
allegations.
false
After repeated attempts by marshals to get Contreras to recant her story, she breaks down.
Let me go home here. Let me go. It was all lies. I don't want to tell anything. It was all lies. All lies. All lies. All lies. Please stop.
We can do this the easy way. We can do this to her.
Marshal Fox tells Contreras the only way she can avoid jail is to step up to the microphone and recant. Contreras agrees, but does the opposite.
When you asked me to lift up my shirt without a witness,
Okay.
you asked me to lift up my shirt without a witness.
For 4 minutes, Contreras pleaded to hearing master Patricia Doninger to hear her. Doninger didn't look at the alleged sexual assault victim, deciding instead to play with Contreras' daughter.
How could you do this to me? How could you watch? How could you watch?
Contreras' 2-year-old daughter confronts the marshals arresting her mother.
Have them come over.
He said, can you please pull up your shirt without a witness? And I said, I don't think that's a good idea.
As you can see for yourself, there's something definitely wrong with our court system. What's wrong with this
Contreras
woman?
kisses her daughter before being sent to jail. Her young daughter sent to Child Haven.
Just
2
like
months later,
overseas.
Contreras filed a
Where
complaint
does a woman
with Court
go when
Martial
she can't
Internal
trust
Affairs.
officials?
Sources tell the I-Team investigators
officials?
were shocked. They never heard of the alleged courthouse sexual assault from Family Court Lieutenant Steve Rushfield. After a 6-month internal affairs investigation, Marshal Ron Fox was fired. Nobody from Clark County told Monica Contreras that. She found out because we found her. Contreras asked that we blur her face.
I just hope I did the right thing by telling Internal Affairs.
It makes me feel good because now I know that I was right.
We went to the top of Clark County Court Administration. They released a statement reading, "Court personnel are prohibited from commenting on the video because it's a personnel matter. When the actions of any district court employee are called into question, the court immediately responds by conducting a fair, thorough investigation and upon completion, taking appropriate action." Even though Marshall Fox was fired, sources tell the I-Team Clark County is widening its investigation into why this incident and a growing number of assault allegations were never reported by family court management to Internal Affairs. Marshal Ron Fox maintains his innocence and is suing Clark County for wrongful termination. His attorney declined an on-camera interview, but in court filings claims the marshal's arrest was just because nobody in the courtroom tried to stop him. We have the entire 6-minute courtroom video. That's on our website.
It's hard to watch, especially the little girl.
Yeah. It's,
and the judge is not culpable in any way in this?
Well, she is under investigation.
Okay.
A lot of people are under investigation, so we're going to be following this story.
I guess so. All right. Thanks a lot.
But it's music time. From a talented songwriter-singer whose quality
On
has stood
both
the test
sides,
of
there
time.
are
From her
snares.
platinum album, The Sensual World.
So what do we do?
This woman's work. Welcome, Kate
We find
Bush.
a middle road. I want from my brothers and sisters what I want for myself, because then my children don't have to worry about being eaten with what's plaguing me, with what's plaguing us. This is truly woman's work, because we are the front line to every distorted moral issue on the planet. So let's leave behind the American woman image that's blasphemous and embrace our true selves. That person that wants to look in the eye of the individual that they're sharing the world with and truly live.
Ooh, it's hard on the man. Now his part is over. Now starts the cry of the father.
I love this song because for me it shows how
I know you have a
one woman's empathy about gender issues could touch on the domestic issues of the melanated people. Freedom is freedom.
I should be hoping, but I can't stop thinking. All the things I should have said that I never said. All the things we should have done that we never did. All the things I should have given that I didn't. Oh, darling, make it go. Make it go away. Make it go. Make it go away.
I've done my best to bring this message to you without trying to be overly opinionated. Much love to you. All is truly self and interconnected. It's the law of attraction, the law of correspondence. It's the universe telling us, wake up.
Give me your hand, baby. Give me your pretty hand. Your love child. Whatever you need.